What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Superhero Central. I'm your host Dennis, and this is my spoiler-free review for Justice League and a brief rant on journalists posing as movie critics and who are totally destroying this movie as we speak. Furthermore, if you want to skip ahead, you can either look at the screen which topic you want to hear with the timestamps included, or you can go to the comment section where I've got timestamps as well. First off, let me say, if you're not a DC fan, its cinematic universe fan, or its characters in general, and if you, for example, haven't been introduced or have never watched a DC Extended Universe movie, then either don't watch this movie or go and start watching the franchise with either Man of Steel or Wonder Woman to get a good first impression of what this movie universe is all about. If you are only looking for this movie to fail, do not watch it, because it didn't bomb, it actually prevailed as of this moment, and it's an amazing new addition to the DC Extended Universe. Secondly, this movie does not get the recognition it deserves, because on Rotten Tomatoes, the critics, between quotation signs for the record, are destroying this movie. And by critics I mean mostly journalists. And no, I don't mean professional movie critics who went to film school, because they are actually credible and don't destroy this movie for illegitimate reasons. The worst I have seen on Rotten Tomatoes from actual movie critics are mixed reviews and not complete and utter trash being thrown at the movie because they think they know what they are talking about, whilst getting the privilege of being part of the overall score on Metacritic.com and Rotten Tomatoes, all the while being completely hypocritical. And compared to what they have to say about the Marvel Cinematic Universe franchise, this is completely unfair and biased against DC. Let me read one hypocritical review for you, so you can get a good look at what it is I think is just way too unfair and biased against DC and in favor, unfairly so, of the Marvel movies. And no, I am not yet saying there is a conspiracy. Or maybe I am. But as long as I have not done the proper research and have an overall estimated average as to how the facts lie in front of my face, I can't say with complete confidence that this is truly the case. But here we go. A pointless flail of expensive yet somehow cheap looking CGI that no amount of tacked on quips or even Godot's luminescent star power can rescue, Sarah from New York Post says. All the while she says about Thor Ragnarok though, it's witty, it's weird, and it goes against decades of bloated, over-serious comics fare. She continues, and this is key. But just as you're relaxing into what feels like a stoner's riff on the Marvel Universe, here comes CGI undead soldiers grimly facing off against some random Asgardian peasants who are led by Idris Elba's dreadlocked warrior, Heimdall, even set to Immigrant Song, a righteous accompanied to Norse-esque warfare. It's the same old, and it feels entirely out of place. End quote. Now, regarding this little piece of extra addition to a review, many of us would think that just by hearing that, this would mean it's a rotten review, right? Hell no. It's a 3 out of 4 rating and it's fresh. Very strange indeed. But have you spotted what I mean by this is key? No? Well, listen up. The CGI for that incredibly annoying character in Thor Ragnarok called Korg was just so god-awful that it took me out of the movie that many times that I just couldn't stand it anymore, and for the love of God, he wasn't there long enough that I wanted to stand up and leave. I do not know what's the reason behind this production mistake, but I may need to read up on that. Now, the fact is, you don't hear a complaint about Korg's CGI, and neither have I noticed anyone else saying it sucked. Now, the fact of the matter is, you don't hear a complaint about Korg's CGI, neither have I noticed anyone else saying it sucked, and instead is not basing the matter on the fact that the CGI for that character was very, very bad. No, she basically just ignores that whole part and basically says that she doesn't like CGI no matter if it's good or bad indefinitely. The thing is, she criticizes Justice League for having cheap looking CGI, but when it comes to Korg, she does not mention that in her review at all and just ignores the fact that that was just unacceptable for a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie to begin with. And yeah, I'll leave the link to the full review of this particular woman in the comment section down below. Now, tell me if you think there's a bias against DC or not, if these so-called movie critics who have the privilege of being part of the overall rating of a movie on these websites are hypocritical or not, because in my opinion, there most certainly is and they most certainly are. Also, one last thing. She also says that she doesn't like over-serious comic book movies, correct? When was Justice League over-serious at all in the first place? BVS most certainly was. But when people complain about that, we first got Wonder Woman, and the critics and journalists who complained about that past issue were pleased with how that was handled in that movie, as they should be pleased about that regarding the Justice League movie. Because it isn't over-serious to begin with. Yet you don't hear her praise that in her review, and she basically just trashed the movie. Now, what do you all think about this mess of a situation on the movie critics front? Let me know in the comment section down below and I'll try to answer every single one of you. Now, as for my review, and sorry it took this long, but I had to say a few things before I could do my review. Firstly, the movie is entertaining as hell. It's fast, easy to understand, and has great characters in it that should intrigue anyone who watches this movie. Batman has never been as comic book accurate before as he is in this movie, and Ben Affleck simply is Batman, and there's no way to deny that. Try me, go on. Write your filthy comments. I'll be waiting for you. And as a matter of fact, the jokes were not misplaced and weren't used to pay off a serious or dramatic moment like Marvel's movies do all the time, which in fact annoys me greatly. And this is what I love so much about DC movies, because it's basically not an action comedy movie, it's essentially an action blockbuster movie with some jokes that land very well spread throughout the film in a balanced fashion. Batman has some of the best Batman scenes a fan of the character could ever hope for, especially in the beginning for example, and just made me feel so amazed and made me mark out like a child seeing Batman for the first time. It also made me scream in my mind that Affleck should never quit this role as long as the movie franchise is still in existence. Yes, the screenplay and script are very simple, but that is what makes it so good. It doesn't need a complicated mess of a script like BVS had. It doesn't need brooding and depressed vigilantes 90% of the time, which I'm also okay with, by the way, because I like brooding characters like Batman. But in this case, because of Bruce Wayne's character development, it doesn't fit in this movie to have him do that. Because he's trying to be more optimistic after his logical fallacy in BVS, which resulted in him wanting to fight Superman. Because if he had done even as little detective work as Lois Lane has done in Man of Steel, the fight would have never happened in the first place and he wouldn't have wanted to kill him either. But for the sake of character development regarding Bruce Wayne and Batman, I'm very pleased and looking forward to what comes next in this movie franchise. As for the CGI Miss Sarah from the New York Post, there was nothing wrong with it to begin with, except for maybe Steppenwolf's face here and there, but there was nothing that looked off to me at all when I watched it in IMAX 3D, which actually says a lot, am I right? And nothing pulled me out of a movie more before than Thor Ragnarok's mess of a cheap-looking CGI fake-ass rehashed version of the Thing from Fantastic Four. Sorry, I let myself go there. Let me compose myself, okay? Okay. Now, as for the action scenes, I saw critics say that there isn't enough of that, and I was just laughing hysterically. Calling this movie out for not having a very deep and complicated story is one thing, but saying this movie lacked action is just so untrue that I just can't. The action scenes are amazing. The things that happen in this movie are incredible as well, no spoilers. Batman is just as badass in action as the amazing warehouse scene in Batman v Superman. The CGI of the Flash is outstanding, as well as how he portrays this character while he is in an action scene. Now, Cyborg had me worried before going into the theater because I thought of the underwhelming CGI regarding his metal body in the trailers, but that took me by surprise because it looks really good. Lastly, the pacing doesn't hurt the film for me and it wasn't an issue either. The cinematography, color grading, sound effects, soundtrack and everything else are beautiful. The overall look of the movie is great as well. The movie isn't too short because it had to be longer, but it's too short because I wanted to see more of it. I really hope we will get an extended cut of at least 3 hours when the Blu-ray comes out in 3 or 4 months. And then I can geek out even more. I only have a few negatives though. One of that was that I wanted more, which I said a moment ago. But you could also count that as a positive as well. As for the real negatives, I think I would have wanted a certain villain to appear. You know who I'm talking about if you've seen the movie, as he's only mentioned once. And sadly, Steppenwolf is a little bit of a forgettable villain, but that doesn't make this movie forgettable though. A good thing is that he wasn't easy to defeat, and actually posed a threat to most of the Justice League, and it took a lot of effort to defeat him in the end. So, I don't think I have said enough, to be honest, but I could go on for hours about this movie. But here are the scores I would give the past entries of the DCEU movies if I would rate them and review them right now. Man of Steel, 8 out of 10. Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Extended Edition, 7 out of 10. Suicide Squad Extended or Regular Edition, 6 out of 10. Not very good. Wonder Woman, 8.5 out of 10. And now it's time to rate this movie. The final verdict is Justice League, 8.5 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to subscribe for more and make sure to hit that like button if you did. Also, don't forget to leave a comment down below to let me know what you think. I will try to answer them as quickly as possible. I was your host Dennis from Superhero Central, and I wish you all the very best day you can possibly have. I will see you all later. Bye bye.